Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Okay, we're back in the black tapes again. We are going to be finishing up Season 1, Episode 2, A Tale of Two Tapes, Part 2. Then we're also going to jump into, there's a teaser trailer for Episode 3, which we're going to go through. So, this may run a little bit shorter than most of the black tape videos, but, you know, we'll see where it goes from here.
Vertical, like black steam out of a large kettle. At first I thought it was part of the fold in the dark red stage curtain behind the students, but it didn't extend all the way up to the top of the frame like the other shadows in the curtain did. It was the same with Sebastian's solo picture.
Yeah, this is a little bit of overlap with the end of the last episode, but yeah, that's pretty, the whole shadow thing is kind of crazy.
So what is it?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, these things just happen sometimes. Not as often, obviously, now that we're in digital, but they still happen. It's nothing a little Photoshop can't fix.
So, there was something in the photos. It didn't look at all how Maria Torres described it. But still, there was something.
Yeah, and kind of crazy that it's there. And the photographer had no problem taking it out with Photoshop.
I have to admit, I was not expecting that. I called Dr. Strand and let him know what I discovered.
I'm sure there's an explanation for what happened. A lens aberration or something similar.
That's possible, but isn't it also possible that Maria Torres wasn't seeing things? There was a shadowy image in the original print of that photo.
That's a pretty big leap from a dark smudge on a photograph to a sinister demon following a child.
Maybe, but you have to admit it's a pretty strange coincidence.
And one of the things we found out in these particular universes is that coincidences cannot be trusted.
I don't, actually. However, I do find it interesting. Did the photographer in any way suspect that stain or mark was a figure?
No.
Did you see a figure?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure because you were allowing your mind to see things based on someone else's context and bias. Had you seen that photo on its own without ever having met Maria Torres, you'd have seen what the photographer saw, some kind of lens aberration, mark on the photograph.
Yeah, there's actually a scientific term for that. I can't think of it right offhand. In the book and the movie Da Vinci Code, they go into it quite a bit, how we will see things based on the environment around us. Basically, we see what we want to see.
That's it.
I don't know.
It's understandable. There are cases where coincidence and psychology meet in a way that allows you to consider things you never thought possible.
What about Robert Torres? I really don't think he wants to believe. He wasn't willing to believe, even if believing meant saving his marriage.
Let's try a more realistic scenario.
Yeah, because the thing is I have to agree with the doctor at this point, because people tend to get enfolded within their own beliefs or belief structure, and it kind of wraps you up, and you can't have an objective view.
Maybe Robert and Maria Torres are stuck in an unhappy marriage. Maybe Maria Torres is experiencing a mental breakdown, and that is the thing taking the toll on their marriage. These sightings of shadow people are simply an externalization of everything wrong in their marriage. They can't face the reality that the only thing wrong in their lives is their failing union.
And that could be a very realistic way of looking at it.
Hello?
You don't find that a bit patronizing? To reduce their experiences, which sound frightening to them, to a bad marriage?
I never find the truth patronizing.
Okay, but in the little time I've known you, I've heard you talk about the importance of evidence. But there's very little evidence that they have a bad marriage.
They're separated right now, aren't they?
Okay, on the subject of evidence, I've seen 4 distinct cases of something strange in photographs and videos surrounding the Torres family.
And that in of itself, I don't know. That could be compelling evidence, but you don't know.
Also, there's the anecdotal evidence from all 3 of them.
I wouldn't call any of that evidence.
You know, you're actually bordering on condescension at this point.
I'm sorry, but I just don't see anything supernatural about any of this. As a journalist, I'd like to think your mind would be a little bit less pliable.
Yeah, this is where the doctor and the journalist kind of start to butt heads. I mean, science versus, wanting to do a good story, and it just kind of weird. Not weird, kind of expected.
I'm going to hang up now.
I suddenly understood why Dr. Strand makes so many enemies. I don't think he's being purposely smug. It's just that he seems to have an answer for everything. And those answers are occasionally dismissive of people's subjective experiences.
The only thing is subjective. That's the problem. It's subjective, and a scientist doesn't deal in subjective experiences. He deals in stuff that are objective, things that you can put concrete.
Have you ever been married?
No, not me. I know because my mother reminds me every Sunday.
How about you, Dr. Strand?
No.
I'm not surprised.
At the beginning.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of people that, especially in academia, living in a college town, that are in academia that do things at that level that haven't been married. So, it's kind of a red herring, or at this point.
Beginning of this episode, I mentioned that my producers dug up some information during their research into the paranormal investigators. A lot of that information related to Dr. Strand. In the end, because it wasn't directly related, we decided we weren't going to include any of that information on this show. However, during one of our interviews in San Francisco, Dr. Strand told Robert Torres and myself that he was never married. The truth is, Strand was married, and his wife went missing under very mysterious circumstances in 1997.
Ba-ba-ba-bum. Here comes the weirdness, or some more weirdness.
Now, I suppose he might lie about something like this to protect his privacy. But if he's willing to lie about his wife, what else might he be willing to fabricate?
And there we go. That's the million-dollar question.
He's been working alone for the last 2 years. But what happened with his former team? So far, every person we can find who worked with Strand has denied our requests for an interview.
It makes you wonder if they signed a non-disclosure at some point, or if it's just kind of the vagueness going on within the confines of the show.
A few days after our falling out, Dr. Strand called and left a message.
Hello, Alex. It's Richard Strand. I'd like to apologize for the other day. I'll be up in Seattle next week, and if you're interested, I'm bringing along another case from my collection, from the section I believe you referred to as the Black Tapes. I think you'll find this one very interesting. Anyway, I hope you're well. I'll leave my information with your producers. Take care.
Yeah, that's kind of very grown up or adult or whatever, however you want to say it, to for the scientist, for Richard to go, hey, look, sorry about what I did. Maybe we can, iron this out and move forward.
Strand was right. I was interested. Very interested. And I believe I can say, without exaggeration, that what happened with the first black tape is nothing compared to what happened with tape number 2. I'm Alex Regan. This is the Black Tapes Podcast. We'll be back again next week.
Okay. Go ahead and pause this here, and we'll switch over to the teaser for next week. See what we get.
Coming up next week on the Black Tapes Podcast.
Hi, this is for Dr. Strand. My name is Keith Dabbage. I'm the guitarist and songwriter in a band out of Seattle. You may have heard of us, Haster Rising.
Yeah, already sounding pretty cool. Sounding like, we're going to get into some stuff.
Our lead singer, Jeff, died recently. I just heard you on Alex Regan's podcast, and I was just wondering if I could speak with you about something. It's something I think you'll want to hear. A recording. You probably already know about it, because of what you do. I think they call it the unsound.
That's kind of cool. This is getting more lore, getting the lore steeped on us. We've already got a little bit of background in this universe from rabbits, and we're getting just this little bit more lore.
Keith Dabbage, lead guitarist and principal songwriter for popular underground hard rock band Haster Rising. If you're from Seattle, you've heard of them.
Now, the fun part is finding out if this is a real band. Going on to the Google and finding out, is this a real band, or these people that people, a band that maybe Terry Miles or somebody else knows, and this kind of folded into this universe. It's kind of cool. And it's very plausible because of the stuff that they do, the meticulous stuff that they come around.
If you're not, you may have heard of the lead singer's violent suicide a couple of weeks ago.
No. I just wondered, like I said, it's kind of crazy.
He hammered a knife into his chest with a polo mallet.
Ow!
Haster Rising was often in the news because of their ongoing conflict with the religious right. Local church groups have picketed their concerts, claiming they promote Satanism.
Well, that sounds like the 80s all over again. With Judas Priest, Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, Motley Crue, Iron Maiden, Anthrax. Sounds like all those from the 80s again.
So, they all died within 1 year of hearing the unsound, just like the story says. You don't think that's at least interesting?
Not really. Every myth has its origin, and Antarctica in 1962 is where the dying within a year story was born.
Dr. Strand's Black Tape number 3 contains a lot of research on the unsound, and, of course, a sample of the sound itself.
Which should be interesting in and of itself. I wonder if... Well, let's go ahead and listen more on this teaser trailer and see if we get to hear the unsound.
I'm going to play it for you in a moment, but first, my producers have informed me that I have to read the following disclaimer. If you listen to the sound, you're listening at your own risk. Now, I
love that because that incorporates this lawyer paranoia that we have, that, like, at the beginning of my videos, I have the disclaimer, and especially like the Kingdom of Fear, I throw in the drug and sex disclaimer. That's kind of cool. I like how they work stuff like that into this show, into this podcast.
heard the sound numerous times, and so far, I haven't seen a single demon. But if you're afraid or superstitious, please skip ahead 10 seconds. You might want to put on headphones for this. More on this, along with a lot more on Strand's mysterious black tapes next week. that was bad.
Now, I wonder if that was planned or if that was a spontaneous thing that they just left in because of the nature of the stories or the nature of the story that we're going to get when we jump into episode 3. That's just kind of interesting.
Okay, let's do it good. Are there some things that just feel different?
Yeah.
Strange? Powerful? Or does it all really depend on what you believe? What lens you choose to use?
And that I do believe that is a lot that has to do with it. What lens you look at things through.
Which filters you decide to apply.
Yep.
I'm Alex Regan. This is the Black Tapes Podcast.
So there we go. We have the end of episode 2 and the teaser trailer for episode 3. I was scrolling through the episode list, and there's several episodes that they have teaser trailers for that, and they don't have them for all the episodes. So this should be interesting. This should be fun. This is truly very enjoyable going through and listening to this for the first time with everybody. So until next time, take care. Be a good human. Be good to other humans. Peace.
Hey, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?